Is your business struggling to stand out from the crowd online? At Webamax, we specialize in turning clicks into customers. From SEO and PPC to social media management and stunning web design, we've got you covered. Boost your online presence and drive real results. Ready to take your business to the next level? Visit Webamax.com. That's Webimax.com for a free digital analysis. Rule the web with Webamax.com.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
And welcome back, everyone, to a new episode of the Skating Penguin. Almost did it again. Skating Penguin Network Mailbag. This is Monday, June 24th. A handful of questions this week. Just a little programming note for you guys. This will likely be the only mailbag this week, and then next week we will do a free agent frenzy type episode on Monday, which is when free agency starts. And then us here in the United States have the 4th of July, which I will not be around for. So you may only get one episode next week from us here. And then going forward, once news slows down, we're going to need some questions. So if you have any questions that can be answered later in the summer, feel free to ask them and maybe just tag them in the tweet saying for later on or something. That way, when it gets really slow, we have some content to still bring you guys as a podcast. So, yeah, just keep that in mind in the next coming weeks. Don't be afraid to ask questions and can be answered.
It can be anything. Life advice, drinking stories.
The hockey questions are going to get probably repetitive when it gets to like August 15th. So feel free to ask anything about life, other made up hypotheticals, rhetorical questions, whatever you want. Throw them in there and just mark them as to be answered later, and we'll put them in a future episode just to give us some content to get us from kind of the dead season into training camp. So as he already chimed in, Snail is here once again with us. Snail, it is we recorded last Thursday. It is much more tolerable outside here now. It's about 75 degrees today rather than 95 degrees. Finally got a front to come through and kind of pop that heat dome that had been hovering over us. But thankfully, that is gone. How is it out there in the Pacific Northwest?
It's beautiful out here, man. Summer is here, but it's not the heat. It's not like the dead of summer where it's pretty miserable. It's a nice cold breeze out. It's 68 degrees, big white fluffy clouds with beautiful blue sky.
Yep.
Went for a bike ride already today, earlier, and worked, and just an awesome day out here today. No complaints. Glad to hear you guys are out of that heat dome that was taking over the East.
Yeah.
Dude, Robbie, I do you ever play like NHL, the game, EA Sports NHL?
I haven't played it in a few years. It's just gotten so repetitive and stale. I just can't bring myself to buy it for $60 or $70, whatever it retails for now.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to buy the next one because this last year, 2024, it would have been 24 came out. Yeah. I just can't do the super realistic like mechanics, like I forget what they call them, but they're just, it took kind of the like the video game feeling out of it.
Yeah. It's when you try to you can make it too realistic that it plays very bad, and I kind of feel like they kind of got too obsessed with that.
Yeah, a little carried away with that. So I actually was at an arcade yesterday, and I got NHL 2016 for PlayStation 4. I still have my PlayStation 4 in my bedroom. I don't play it hardly ever anymore because I have the PS5, but that was one of my favorite games to play. Fond memories from the roster that year for the Penguins. And I last night I kicked it off and I started a season mode. NHL 16, and it is, dude, such a blast and so funny to see the rosters from back then. In my season mode, I signed as a free agent Danny Heatley, Scotty Gomez,
Oh, geez.
and there was a third one I signed too that's escaping me. But yeah, my roster is nuts right now.
Yeah.
And that game, the older games are the best. I don't know if I'll buy the new ones. I might just go backwards, start buying 1 year earlier every year.
Yeah.
But enough about that. We'll move on to some questions here from our loyal listeners. And to kick things off, we got a question from Kim Larson. And it's a little bit of goalie talk. With Alex Nedeljkovic signing a new 2-year deal, do you see Jari coming back? If Boston's willing to trade Linus Ullmark, would you consider him and try to trade Jari?
If Ullmark is on the market, I think he would be my top target if it can be attainable. Even more so than like a Saros, just because I think the price there might get too high. Though Jacob Markstrom went for pennies on the dollar to New Jersey, maybe the goalie market won't be that hot. If they're looking for a backup in Boston, again, that's a lot of money to have under 2 goaltenders. But if they'd want to be interested in Jari as a backup, I would definitely be interested in Ullmark. As for the situation as it stands right now, I still think unless something changes, Jari and Nedeljkovic are your goaltenders heading into the 2024-25 season. Again, things can change quickly. Things can change rapidly, especially we know that as we record this, we're just a few hours away from the conclusion of the NHL season. One way or another, it will end this evening. So by the time you listen to this, it will already be over. And then this week, you have draft on Friday and Saturday, free agency on Monday. A lot's going to happen really quickly. And what's said about Jari right now seems to be that no plan to trade him. You never know what can happen. Things can change rapidly. But as of right now, I would say that's probably around 20% chance he is out of Pittsburgh. Though if an option comes open for like an Ullmark, then I become much more interested in making the necessary move to get that, because I think if I'm making any blockbuster type trade this year, that is the one that I would prioritize over anything else, because I think the Penguins can get better in other areas through smaller moves or free agency. Goaltending, the options on the free agent market are slim to none. So you have to pay up a little bit more to get a goaltender like Ullmark. I'm pulling that trigger. Kim Larson, question about the Stanley Cup final here, and pretty straightforward. If Florida blows this, is that the biggest blow ever in Stanley Cup? Is that the biggest choke ever in Stanley Cup history?
I think it is. I can't, in recent memory for sure. I don't know what was going on in the 30s and the 40s as far as the NHL goes, but this might be one of the biggest choke jobs in all of sports.
Yeah, it's not just it's not even just hockey. The
only one that comes to mind in more recent memory, like a choke job, wasn't there the game with was it the Falcons 28-3?
Falcons 28-3 in the Super Bowl back in 2017.
That is a choke of all choke jobs. Yeah. I don't know if the Super Bowl is different because it's one game, but
and
but
time limit and stuff,
time limit. The series, the 7-game series. That was a seismic one. This is close to it, especially This is like it. Also, it has to be. Yeah, it's in a finals. This is to determine the champion of your league. So, other than that,
I think it has to be.
I think that has to be it might be the biggest if it happens.
The only time it's ever happened in the NHL was, I believe they said 1943. The Maple Leafs wiped out a 3-0 series lead in the Stanley Cup final and came back to win. That is literally the only time it's happened. And
how ironic it's the Leafs.
And that was when there were 6 teams. You have the talent is so much different now that if Florida blows this, man, I don't know. That's going to be a tough pill to swallow for a really long time.
Oh, yeah. It's Bill Buckner.
Oh, it's beyond Buckner, yeah.
The whole team will be Bill Buckner's.
Yeah.
It'll be horrible. It sucks that someone's got to lose. I don't have a dog really in the fight, but it just kind of sucks someone's got to lose because, if Florida loses, which I don't know, Robbie, you've been watching the series. They don't look like they have a whole lot left in the tank.
Yeah, I don't know. I think tonight you're just going to have to throw everything you have left, both teams, because I think Edmonton, they've had to put everything into these last 3 games as well. It's going to be interesting to see what anybody has left, um, has left in the tank, because in 3 months, less than 3 months, you have to be back in training camp and ready to go again. But again, a win tonight and you're in the rafters forever. So you take what little rest you can to get that cup, and I think it's going to be quite a game 7.
I hope so. Hopefully it's not a dud. We'll move on from that question to a question from one of our most loyal listeners, in Brian. He asks, "Who's a player that we could acquire that you think would be an instant crowd favorite?"
So a crowd favorite can be determined by a lot of different factors. It doesn't necessarily have to be a superstar. A lot of crowd favorites are guys that
Blue collar
hockey players. One name that comes to mind is Tyler Bertuzzi. I think Bertuzzi and Max Domi as well would be 2 guys that would be instant crowd favorites in Pittsburgh because of the way they play. Some other names here. I mean, I'm just kind of going over. I think Marchessault would fit right in as a crowd favorite immediately. I thought Riley Smith was going to be that guy. I really thought the way he started the season, like, Pittsburgh's going to fall in love with this dude. He's going to score 25 goals, and just the way he plays is going to be perfect for the Penguins. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. But yeah, I think Bertuzzi and Domi are 2. I guess they're probably obvious names because we've talked about them so much in the past as guys that could be in Pittsburgh, and they would absolutely be fan favorites. So, not saying he'll get it done, but 2 names to watch out there would be Tyler Bertuzzi and Max Domi. Domi especially because his connection with Pittsburgh and his dad and stuff like that. Sticking with Brian here, he said, "I think I lean on the same side as Jesse Marshall with the Ned deal. Don't particularly like it. I know Blomqvist has just 1 season in the AHL, but when a guy is ready, he's ready. Just need him to be behind Jari and not Ned."
So I don't know who Jesse Marshall is right off the top of my head. Is that a Pittsburgh writer?
Yeah, he writes for The Athletic, but he focuses on the Penguins.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Who does Josh Yohe write for?
The Athletic.
Oh, okay. Well, what did he say about Ned? Just he didn't.
I have to pull up what he said here.
I don't mean to make you pull it up, but
No,
just
you're
off.
good, but yeah.
I mean, obviously not a fan of the Ned signing, but doesn't that just make you speculate that there's maybe something else? It either means that it's Jari and Ned, or it means that there is a move coming. Going back to like the first question, like I don't see them. Boston's trying to move off of having 2 number 1 goalies. I don't think they would ever go for a guy like Jari, but I think if you're trading Jari,
he basically said he thinks Blomqvist is ready for NHL experience, just doesn't really understand Ned as a backup for 2 years unless you're dealing Jari. It just blockades a younger guy who's likely to be better than a replacement level netminder. So it's basically more or less he just thinks that Blomqvist is ready. Like, this doesn't make quite as much sense unless you're trading Jari. So that's kind of where his line of thought is with that.
I just don't know if I don't know, but like from what the internet tells me and what the numbers say, I just don't know if Blomqvist is ready. Like, I don't think he's not a guy. I mean, he had a good season last year in the AHL, but he doesn't strike me as like one of those guys that's just dominated for so long down there that he's forcing your hand that you need to bring him up. I think you would get your answer on a scenario like that if you let him marinate in the minors again 1 more year. Ned signed for a couple years too. You got to look at that. He signed a multi-year contract. So I think that if anything, if they're running it back, Jari, Ned signed as a backup for another couple years, and that gives the Penguins a little bit of time to not have to rush a guy like Blomqvist up. Mm-hmm. And because Ned's a serviceable backup and can be a number 1 at times, and Jari can be a number 1 at times and also wear the ball cap. So I think if anything, this just takes a little pressure off of the Blomqvist situation. But I guess we'll see. You never know. I mean, we're gonna know sooner than later because things are starting to kick off. As we see a lot of movement in the NHL, the draft's coming up.
Yeah.
You never know. Do you see a situation, Robbie, where they would trade Ned for or not Ned? They would trade Jari for another starting goaltender, or would you? Because I don't see that happening. I don't think they're looking for. I feel like they would run Ned and Blomqvist before they would look for another big contract in net.
I think if they're moving Jari, it's probably just open salary.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, unless there'd be a deal out there that you couldn't turn down, which I don't necessarily foresee happening. I think it would just be a salary dump move. Probably wouldn't get much back in return, outside of maybe, which is fine. And then the obvious path then would be Ned and Blomqvist being the NHL guys.
I wouldn't hate that either. I mean, just with where the Penguins are at, where Ned's at, we saw what he did last year. If Blomqvist is as ready as some of as maybe Jesse Marshall or these other people are saying he is, I mean, only having what would it be almost under a hair over $3 million tied up in both your goaltenders?
Yeah, which is a significant departure from over $8 million tied up in your goaltenders.
I wouldn't mind it, honestly. And if they stink the joint out, there's what do they call them? There's journeyman goaltenders out there that are on the cheap that you could always bring in a veteran and still be under what you were spending with Jari's salary on there and bring in a veteran. So,
absolutely.
But we will find out soon. And with that, we'll move to a question from our pal Kim Larson, and he says here, who do you think will coach the power play? And if you could, who would you bring in?
Honestly, Kim, your guess is literally as good as mine when it comes to this. It seems like we're very much in the dark in regards to what the situation with the power play is and the coaching situation there going forward. Again, it's up in the air. I mean, I really don't know. I'd love to see a guy like Jay Woodcroft get a look as an assistant, but I don't know what the plans are coaching-wise, because it certainly doesn't seem like they're actively shopping for a power play coach, but that could be something that comes in the next few days, especially with everything about to break loose here once the final's over. But who they go with, I don't know. Who would I want to go with? Woodcroft's really the only big name I saw floated around. There's some other guys that are probably younger. I'd love to see them take a shot at a younger up-and-coming coach just to see what happens. Again, the power play can't really get worse than it did last year. So take of that as what you will. But as of right now, your guess is as good as mine is what the idea for the power play coaching is. We know David Quinn will be handling the defense. Mike Vellucci's still there. So who knows? I guess it's a wait and see kind of thing. Sticking with Kim here, Trevor Zegras might be up for grabs. Could he be our new third line center? Would you go for him even as a winger for one of the top two lines?
Yeah, I was kind of on this train not that long ago. I wouldn't mind the taking a long look at Zegras and seeing. He's not a third line player. He doesn't bring what he's not, solid defensively. He doesn't forecheck. He's a skill guy, and I think he has still a long way to go in his development. He can Michigan his way to being a fan favorite and Michigan his way to a 60-point season on a really bad Ducks team. But, if they were to take a look at him, I would hope that it was to bring him in and learn how to be a real good pro from guys like Sid and Letang. And I don't know about him on the wing. I don't know if he has the most foot speed either. Sullivan and the Penguin system really preaches that speed game and hard, quick forechecking, dump and chase, all of that. And Zegras just doesn't look like a guy to me that goes into the corners and will win a 50-50 puck battle. And that's what the Penguins need. He might help the power play though. That's for sure. I've seen him. I've watched Ducks games where he's on the half wall and he has a good shot and everything, but, it depends. Basically it depends what you'd have to give up for him. I wouldn't be getting him for the third line. I would be looking at bringing him in as a top six guy. And this might be a year where you see Gino play in the wing a little bit more. You don't know if his foot speed is quite where it needs to be to compete with where the game's at right now. If you move him to a wing with Zegras, if that, like, as a hypothetical, I wouldn't hate that as an experiment. That's a lot of skill on your second line, presumably. And if, Sid, or, hopefully not, but if Sid or Gino or someone went down with an injury, he can slot in wing, center. I mean, I wouldn't mind it. So it just depends what you'd have to give up. That's what I'd be concerned about, to be totally honest. And what do you think that would be, Robbie, giving up? Like, the Penguins don't really they're not in the market for giving up first round picks at this point where they're at. And it's like, if you could, I mean, they would, I don't even think they have anybody that'd be a 1-for-1. It would have to be some sort of, Anaheim's trying to build up their prospect pool, and, they're not even trying to probably be that much better next year. They're trying to build the cornerstones.
A Zegras deal would be tough because you're not going for a prospect here. You're going for an established NHL player. And, okay, maybe he hasn't lived up to the hype, but the skill is clearly there. The talent is there. I think that there's going to be teams that if there's a bidding war, the Penguins would not be well equipped for that. And I think Zegras would definitely draw a bidding war. Not saying you'd be parting with high-end picks or prospects, but I think a team could give a solid enough haul that you'd be the Penguins just couldn't keep up with. Again, Zegras, I think, would definitely have a role in the Penguins. Just don't see it being a possible something they could possibly target.
I don't know if he came in and got a few years under Sid, Zegras and Yager up the middle might not be too bad. Right, big shot on the right with Yager, Zegras on the opposite. Would you give up Owen Pickering, Riley Smith, and a first next year for Zegras?
If you can convince me to do it without the first, I think I would pull the trigger.
Without the first?
Yeah.
All right, 2 seconds.
I think you could convince me that. I don't know if the price will be that high, but I think you could convince me then.
Riley Smith and Owen Pickering, do you think that could get it done, or is that delusional?
I think that Anaheim's going to want a pick of some kind to bolster that because it's basically another asset. So, and a team that's in a full rebuild like Anaheim, they're going to want many picks as possible. And I don't know if Riley Smith would agree to that deal. So, let's see.
All right. Question from Brian. Saw a mock Line for Smith deal. Would be a steal in Brian's opinion if Line could stay healthy.
I mean, probably would be a steal if there'd be. I just don't know if the money would work on that, and I don't know if Columbus would be exactly thrilled with just that as a one-up, unless they're just looking to get rid of Line and take the loss on Smith. Either move him for pick somewhere else. I cannot imagine that Riley Smith would be in their long-term plans. He only has a year left on that deal. I mean, if you get Line to Pittsburgh, again, a guy that has no interest in playing any defense, but would look really good next to Sid or Malkin on one of those top two lines. I mean, if the money works and Riley Smith is willing to do it, I'm not going to cross my fingers on that. That he does that. So I think that it's wishful thinking. But I mean, Line in Pittsburgh wouldn't look bad, and that would be a relatively cheap cost to pay for a guy like Line, who can shoot the puck and can score. Again, if he can stay healthy, but health's a question with literally any player in the NHL. You never know. I mean, Smith missed time this year, Raquel missed time. You just don't know who's going to be healthy year in and year out. So. But yeah, I mean, Line in Pittsburgh, I think would look good if you could swing that trade with the money.
Dude, was that year that I think Kapanen scored the golden goal for Finland in the World Juniors? And did that have like Aho and Puljujärvi and Line on it too? Off the top of your head,
can't remember.
Because I was gonna say, I wonder if you brought Line over, maybe him and his pal Puljujärvi maybe a little chemistry there. Third line?
Could be. All right. From Kim again here. I didn't quite know what this question meant exactly, but they said top 5 players you would try to trade. I'm assuming that means players on the roster you'd currently try to trade. So give us what you got.
Top 5 players on the Penguins roster that I would try to trade. Riley Smith, Ryan Graves,
Yeah.
Ricard Raquel.
Okay, that's 3.
Ricard Raquel, though, if he's healthy, I'm iffy. But
yeah, I understand where you're coming from, though.
If you could even just get his money off the books, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's 3, and then another one would be. I know that he's in a tough spot right now, but like Matt Nieto, I didn't understand that signing. He's kind of a big nothing. It does a lot of nothing for me on that fourth line. Not the type of fourth liner I want, but I know he's not going to even be able to play until like January or something like that. Let's see.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Puljujärvi, no. Ehlers, Achari. Who's on the fourth line besides Achari?
They kind of mix it around. You have Puustinen in there.
I like Pusti. I have a soft spot for him.
What about Jari?
Oh, yeah, Jari. Let me rearrange my list. First, it would be Jari, Graves, Smith, Nieto, Raquel. In that order. What about you?
Yeah, Jari, just because I think just to get that number off the book. Smith, I might even put Smith 1 just because it just feels so inevitable that it's going to happen. Graves, I'd almost rather get rid of Graves than Jari, I think. It's just so bad. That contract's so bad. Graves and Jari. Raquel, if you could dump it, you dump it. And then, I guess Nieto. I mean, I don't really know. There's not after like those 3 guys, you kind of run out of options, good options. I guess Nieto as well, just because again, like you said, the move doesn't make a lot of sense.
Is there any world where you trade Chris Letang?
No, there's no. I don't think those guys are getting. No.
Would you? Under any circumstance?
No, I just don't think it makes any sense.
Okay.
I just don't. I still think unless you can find a way to make up that production. I know it's not always crazy production. I just don't know. I just think he's more of a positive than negative still, even at his age.
Would you trade Letang for a prime Chris Pronger?
That's a completely different story, but yeah.
I just want to see where, like, is he untouchable to you?
I mean, from a emotional standpoint, yes.
Okay, that's what I want to see. That's what I wanted to know. But it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Let us know who you guys would trade. Who's on your chopping block? Let's get some spicy takes on that.
Let us. And if you want to get exciting, give us some names.
Yeah, someone's gonna say Gino.
Oh, so yeah, it's gonna be something crazy.
Next question here is from Brian, and he asks, if you were going to piss off one general manager by offer sheeting a restricted free agent, who would you do it to?
So this is an interesting one. I'd probably pick on Carolina, just because they like to do it themselves as well, and they seem to be aggrieved about weird stuff. I remember when the Aho offer sheet was done by Montreal, they got really petty about it, and then they had the Kotkaniemi offer sheet that they did in return. I really just want. I think at this point, like, if you offer sheet anyone, the opposing general manager would be ticked off because they're soft. General managers are soft nowadays. You don't see offer sheets. Offer sheets are exciting. We should have more offer sheets. But nobody's willing to burn any bridges, especially with how trading works in the NHL. So I'd love to see them take a run at Carolina. I don't know how Tulski is going to operate down there. You're very rarely going to get an offer sheet within your division anyway, because that's more than likely going to be matched unless it's for somebody that they really don't mind parting with. I feel like Vegas would be a good one too, because they get a little aggrieved and antsy about things. So that might be fun as well to do that. But if you're Kyle Dubas, would it not be hilarious to offer sheet someone from Toronto?
That would be hilarious.
I mean, that's probably, like, if you're Kyle Dubas, that would probably be like the funniest possible option.
I'd offer sheet that Matthew Nyes kid if he ever got to a point where he could be offer sheeted. You know who they should offer sheet for real is Dawson Mercer from the New Jersey Devils.
Again, yeah, in the division, but Mercer would be a fun try too.
He just torches the Penguins. Like, he seems to always have a game when he plays them, and the Penguins never seem to go after the guys when they come available that torch them. But it'd be good, maybe him, or God, what would you have to pay a guy like Quentin Byfield?
I don't know what the numbers are exactly, but Byfield would not be cheap.
Probably not cheap. I think Byfield's on a $3.1 million contract right now. Martin Necas could be offer sheeted.
Yeah, that goes with Carolina. Necas would be, especially because you don't know what the situation fully is there. But Necas would be fun too.
Would you take Jeremy Swayman over Jari?
Oh, I'd take either Boston goalie over Jari,
because he could be offer sheeted.
I think Boston's going to pay up big money for him though. So
yeah, I guess it's saying here they're looking at paying him around $8 million.
That's absurd. Yeah. All right. Question from Andreas here. He wants to know, do you have any game-worn / used hockey memorabilia? He says he just has a drumstick used by Christopher Schneider of Rammstein and a guitar pick used by King Carey of Slayer. Both were caught after a concert.
That's epic. That's not hockey memorabilia, though. But
no.
Let me think. What do I have? I have a puck that I caught at I didn't catch it. My buddy caught it at a WHL game, the first hockey game I ever took him to. I have it just behind me here in a little case.
Okay.
Game worn used hockey memorabilia. I don't know. I got some I have a autographed Matt Cullen Anaheim Ducks card.
Well, that's not really. I guess technically it's used if it's out.
It is memorabilia.
Yeah, I have a. Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at it like that, I have. Let's see. I have a baseball from a baseball game that was tossed to me that was used. It was a foul ball.
Who hit it?
It was a double A. It was a minor league team. I honestly couldn't even tell you who it was anymore. It went into the opposing bullpen, and the catcher tossed it up.
Nice.
Trying to think what else.
Oh, yeah, I have a Tino Martinez foul ball from when the year he left the Mariners, when the Yankees were in Seattle.
That's cool. Okay. Yeah. I have this is going back to the 90s here. My mom used to work for a company that did a lot of business with a trucking company that sponsored the Penguins, and we got box seats and got to go to a dinner after the game. And I have my picture with Ron Francis, Peter Nedved, and Kenny Reggett. It's signed by all three of them.
What?
Yeah, I have a signed John Elway picture.
Did he sign it, or did you just get it signed?
I forget how somebody got me that. I can't remember how I got that one though. I think that's all the signed stuff I have.
My mom went to high school with Michelle Akers, super famous women's soccer player, and I went to her house and held her gold medal and have an autographed photo of her. But
that's actually pretty cool.
I guess I got to touch a gold medal, Olympic gold medal.
That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. I have a lot of memorabilia that's not signed, like posters and pictures and kind of just collector's items, but not necessarily signed.
Yeah, a lot of collectors type stuff, but I'm trying to think of like no one's ever like thrown me like I'm 32. I can't like go ask a hockey player for like a stick. You know what I mean? He would look at me and spit at me.
You can't take a sign to a game and say like, I'll trade you a stick for something. Well, you can't do that. You just look like a giant weirdo.
No, you're pushing kids out of the way to be like, hey, can I please have your stick?
Yeah, you probably could put on like a watch list or something like that.
Yeah, or he just hits you in the teeth with it.
Yeah, no, you can't do that, unfortunately. Yeah, that's about all. I don't have anything crazy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I've had a lot of cool experiences at like concerts and sports games. I've met a lot of people. I've gotten a lot of cool like random encounters, and talked with people in bands, but I've never caught the guitar pick in the crowd, never caught a drumstick. It sounds like Andreas gets up close and personal at these metal shows.
Yeah,
he's getting his eardrums blown out up in the front rows.
Yeah, I mean, guitar picks don't fly far. They're just little
they flutter.
Drumstick, yeah, you could wail that thing probably a decent distance, but like a guitar pick's just a light piece of plastic. That thing's like a leaf falling off a tree.
Exactly. That thing just flutters off the stage. So that tells me that where did he get from Slayer? Being that close at a Slayer shows, that would blow an eardrum.
Yeah, really.
All right, another question from Andreas here, and he asks, which game of the Euros have you watched until now?
I've actually watched quite a few. I just actually, before we started recording this, I watched the end of Italy and Croatia. I watched, as much as I could throughout the last about week and a half now since it started. So, yeah, I've been watching a whole bunch, not one specifically. Andreas, I know you are German, the German national team, doing pretty well. Snail, I know you were watching some of Argentina and Canada, which is Copa America, to see Messi. But yeah.
Alphonso Davies.
Yeah, Davies plays for Canada. Yep, as well. All right, wrapping it up here. This one's specifically for Snail, and it's from Brian. He says, look up Frazier Filipic. That dude is about as old school of hockey player as you can get.
So, yeah, I'm looking at his hockey DB right now. He was born in 1980. He's from Thorsby, Alberta. He'd be 44 years old right now. He's 5'10", 185. And let's see, played for the Lloydminster Blazers, Fort McMurray Oil Barons, the Grant McEwen College, and then the Colorado Eagles of the CHL. God, from 2003 to 2010. Let me see here. Let's see how gritty he is. Games played, averaging between 40 and 60 games. Scored 20 goals one year, but other than that, trickles in 3 to 5 to 7 a year. The penalty minutes are...
That's what I was going to say. Okay, how many career games has he played? Like total, does it have like a total?
It doesn't have a total. I'm looking on Hockey DB right now. They actually don't have a total at the bottom, but let's just say this, that since joining the Canadian Hockey League in 7 years, it's 147, 121, 276, 284, 244, 112, and 280. Never playing more than 60 games. He played 63 games. Everything else is 40 and 50 games. He played 50 games and racked up 280 penalty minutes. That guy is a mutant.
That's ridiculous.
He played 55 games, racked up 284. The most impressive one, it looks like, on here is probably like... He played 30 games and racked up 112.
That's... Yeah, wow. That's... Yeah.
He racked up 67 in the playoffs one year, was a -3. This guy looks like a grit grinder, too. Holy... This guy looks kind of familiar. Fraser Phillip. No, he never played anywhere that I would have seen any. Yeah, good old Alberta boy. Blue collar as they come. Probably works in the oil fields and then beats dudes up at senior hockey at night. I love
he
that stuff.
absolutely plays beer league and just absolutely one. He's the best skater in his beer league, even though he could probably barely skate at the pro level. And two, he probably throws his body around and puts people through like the glass. Like
he's Eric Lindros at drop in.
Yeah, he's probably an absolute menace on the ice. Just an absolute, will just waylay on you for like 90 minutes or however long you're on the ice.
He's almost 45 right now, and he's probably still out there just scoring hat tricks and beating up people in the 40 plus senior league.
That's insane. Those are some heroic numbers.
Those are heroic. That's awesome. That guy was a menace. He's only 5'10" too, so I love the smaller, grittier guys. But that's Alberta for you. Those guys up there, they love their.
Actually, what's even funnier is I looked it up here when he played in the Alberta Junior Hockey League for the Lloydminster Blazers. He played 52 games or 57 games with 383 penalty minutes. That's in junior. Like, do you imagine, like, 57 is probably close to a full season too. Like,
probably.
That's insane. Like, you're just beating the hell out of dudes.
That guy was just going to fight and end up playing hockey. Like that old saying, it's like I went to a fight and a hockey game broke out.
Yeah,
like that guy was going there to fight and then would end up.
He thought he was going to boxing practice, and they strapped razor blades to his feet for some reason. He couldn't figure out what the heck to do.
Yeah,
he just started beating on people. That is insane, though. Like,
that's a great find from our pal, dude, from Brian. That's
how do you even stumble upon that? Like, that's insane.
Brian fought him in the junior Alberta league.
Brian fought him on his mail route.
Yeah, he had a run-in with him. He lives in Pittsburgh now.
He actually, for some reason, he from Alberta and lives in Pittsburgh for some reason.
Wouldn't be the only person from Alberta that's probably ended up living in Pittsburgh.
Oh, well, no. I mean, there are plenty of hockey players that probably live in Pittsburgh. But yeah, that's quite a pull. That's quite a pull, and that's right up.
I know he never even played in the AHL or the East Coast League. Like
no,
the CHL in Colorado, was it?
Yeah, he played for Colorado. Yeah,
that is so. Like I need to know the backstory on what Brian was doing to find this guy.
Here he had 300. I found some totals here. In the CHL, he had 326 games played. 1,434 penalty minutes.
I was gonna say, is it in the thousands?
Yeah, it's almost. It's like
almost 1,500.
Almost 1,500 penalty minutes. That's quite impressive, actually. That is. Hold on one second here.
What does that equal out to?
That's averaging almost 4.5 minutes a game.
That's a fight. That's a fight per game.
Basically, a fight per game.
It's like point per game. He's a fight per game player.
What's even funnier is his junior numbers are over about 7 minutes per game.
Like 3 fights a game almost.
Yeah, it's a fight and a minor a game.
A fight and a minor a game.
Which is probably an instigator.
Yeah. And that was back then so too, funny. Where they were more lenient towards that kind of stuff. It wasn't like
yeah. That's apparently it's back before you got suspended for fighting a junior because man, that's
suspension.
Insane.
That guy probably never got suspended once.
He probably wouldn't be able to play in today's game.
No, he'd get arrested.
Yeah, that's insane. But wow, yeah, good pull there from Brian. That's pretty impressive.
That's fun stuff to look up.
Brian had a long week last week, guys. So he said it was hot but bearable. Is what he said in the chat. So.
Oh yeah, I guess he would have had to have been walking and all that.
He said as long as you stay hydrated, you're okay. But Brian's a walker to begin with, so that was hot. So Brian, thank you for doing your service and delivering the mail. But that is this week's mailbag episode. That will be the only mailbag for this week. If you have other questions between now and Thursday about the upcoming festivities this weekend with the draft and free agency, feel free to post them on the tweet. We'll answer them on Thursday when we sit down to talk about what's upcoming, especially looking forward to the draft. Take a look what the Penguins are doing. And then maybe by then we'll have a better idea of where things are headed with free agency and trades and all the whatnot and fun stuff. We'll be able to talk about who won the final, who raises the Stanley Cup, whether or not Florida choked it away or Edmonton did the impossible. We'll have all that to talk about. But Snail, I don't know about you, but do you have anything to throw in before we wrap this up?
I was just thinking about this randomly, and I have to throw it out there. Is I still want John? I want Gibson from Anaheim to be the
John
goaltender.
Gibson.
I want John Gibson in Pittsburgh. That's it.
I mean,
that is all. I want more Pittsburgh guys in Pittsburgh.
He just wants more Pittsburgh guys in Pittsburgh. So Brandon Saad, you are a Pittsburgh Penguin. John Gibson, pack your bags, buddy. You're coming back to the East Coast.
I'd love to see Matt Bartkowski get, I wouldn't mind him as a 7th
Logan
D.
Cooley, you don't want to play in Utah.
He doesn't.
You definitely want to come to Pittsburgh. So, yeah, get the Kyle Dubas, please sign all the Pittsburgh guys.
Who else is a Pittsburgh guy in the
That's what I was
NHL?
trying to think real quick. Cooley, Saad, Gibson. I feel like there's definitely more, but I just can't think of any right now.
They're all retired now. The one, I was thinking, like Bugsy Malone,
RJ Umberger.
Yeah, but I want them. John Gibson, he had like a few years where he was like good on a good team in Anaheim, and he was a good goaltender, and he's just been laid to waste there, and no one will take a flyer on him because he's just been. What do you call those horses that are supposed to lose?
Long shot?
No, like the ones that like train the horses to like win. They're supposed to be slower though. There's a name for those that I'm drawing a blank on.
A horse that's supposed to win but be slower.
Or no, they're supposed to lose. Like they're supposed to go through like trials with the horses that are supposed to win, but they never do win.
I mean, like a pacer kind of thing?
Yeah, something like that. Whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a term for what that is, and I'm blanking on it right now. But he's not been set up to be good for a long time, and everyone thinks he sucks. But he's from Pittsburgh. Yeah. He's big in the net. I don't want Jari. I'm back on the John Gibson train. So get him to Pittsburgh. That's all I have to say.
All right. So Snell is on the recruit Pittsburgh players to Pittsburgh train. Again, next time we talk, we'll probably have more clarity on where everything stands. We'll, at the very least, have a Stanley Cup winner, and we'll talk about that. So, for Snail, I'm Robbie. We'll talk to you guys later in the week.